now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Troy King Fantasy Football Show, starring your host, Troy King, aka T King Mode. And today I have a guest with me. It's someone that I've connected with for quite a while, and I'm finally getting to do a show with her, so I'm very, very excited. Her name is Britt Flynn. And Britt, I'm going to let you do the honors of telling everybody where they can find you, all the places you can find you. You have a new exciting opportunity that just happened. So I'm going to let you have the floor and tell everybody, what you have going on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is so cool. You can find me on Twitter at Britt_Flynn, Flinn. We spell it phonetically because we're weird. I'm also a part of Lightning Round Fantasy at LR Fantasy on Twitter. We have a weekly show every Wednesday night talking fantasy strategy, doing drafts, and we have some super exciting guests coming up in this off season. But this week, I also had the pleasure of joining the Fantasy Alarm family to write some NFL content with them. So it's been a really great week.
Well, congratulations on your opportunities and your continued opportunities with all those sites. She does amazing work, guys. So make sure you check out her content. Now, we're going to go get into the show, right? So now that the football season's unfortunately over, we still have Dynasty. At least there's something to talk about still, right? So we're going to have a little bit of Dynasty talk, and we're just going to get Britt's perspective on all this. So, Britt, let's start off by just talking about some players that you're most excited about for 2022, regardless of the position. Who are a couple players that you're really excited about this upcoming season?
Well, this first one's probably not a surprise to anyone. I feel like the hype surrounding this guy is just at an all-time high, and it's pretty consensus. But I'm super excited about Javonte Williams. I loved him as a rookie. I think he had a great rookie season. I mean, he had 903 yards, splitting carries with Melvin Gordon, rushing another 316 receiving yards. And Melvin Gordon's a free agent this year. So right now we don't really know if he's going to still be there to take the workload away from Javonte. And if he's not, like, it's wheels up. Let's go. And Javonte is also really good at breaking tackles and gaining yak. I mean, I have to have him, as you saw in that Dynasty startup that we just started.
You're right.
I'm going to have him anywhere I can.
No, I think that's a great, great option. When it comes to Melvin Gordon, though, he's the key factor, right? Because I feel like regardless if Melvin Gordon's there or not, Javonte is going to be just fine. We saw Javonte in one game last year where he had the backfield to himself and he looked fantastic. So if Melvin Gordon doesn't return, yeah, it's wheels up for him. He should be an RB1 for 2022 if he has the whole backfield to himself. He looked very good. But like I said, the numbers that he put up splitting carries with Melvin Gordon in his rookie year are definitely encouraging. So I really like that call. I'll throw a player out there just since we're talking about it. I feel like there's a million players, but not to get too chalky. I'll say, you know what? Elijah Moore. So I feel like Elijah Moore, I was not even a huge Elijah Moore guy going into like the season, right? I know there's a lot of people who loved him, but what we saw from him after week 9 towards the back half of the season, unfortunately he got hurt, but he just made defenses look silly, right? He was getting open, he was scoring, he was doing everything we want him to do for fantasy in his rookie year. I think that connection with him and Zach Wilson is going to be something solid for a long time. So that's somebody that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I love that. I love that call.
Oh, I appreciate it. So, Britt, do you have any other players? If not, we're going to get into, I guess it's kind of a similar question, an add-on to what we just talked about. Do you have any other players about who you're excited about, who are you looking to acquire this offseason? Because obviously this is Dynasty. We make trades. This is a perfect time to, buy and sell players. But who are you looking to buy this offseason?
So his price is probably going to be a little high after last year's season, but I'm all in on Hunter Renfro and the coaching change. So historically, if you look at Josh McDaniels and how he runs his offense, he finds a way to get his slot receivers on the field. This is courtesy of Dwayne McFarland. I've got to get my shout outs to him because this is where I found this nugget. But Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, and Wes Welker all had over 90% routes run under his system. Hunter Renfro was at 78% last season, and he caught 82.2% of his passes. So can you imagine if he's out there for 90+% of the routes and gets that target volume and has that reception percentage? I mean, I just think he's going to go sky high. I think he's going to have a great season, and I've got to grab my hands all over him. And this might be a little too early as we haven't done the rookie drafts yet, but everybody knows I'm from Arkansas, and I've got to get a piece of Treylon Burks. I absolutely have to. I think his highest PFF grade came against Alabama, so you know that he's ready for a pro-style system. And everybody argues that he can't run the routes, that he can't get separation. But if you look at the film, he was double teamed almost every single play, and he still managed to put up those numbers. So I think Treylon Burks is going to have another monster rookie season, kind of like we've seen with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase lately.
I absolutely love both of those calls. I'll start off with the Hunter Renfro call. Hunter Renfro is somebody that was very, very under the radar last year, right? And because again, going into the year, nobody was expecting Hunter Renfro to have the year that he had. Granted, Darren Waller, does his injury probably play a part? Yeah, but at the same time, Hunter Renfro's route running was so crisp. And I think that's what really makes him I'm not going to say he's elite, but that's what makes him so dangerous, right? And that's the reason he got open and he was scoring and he was a PPR monster. And like you said, with Josh McDaniels coming to town, if he's used in like a Julian Edelman type way, then he's going to either continue to put up similar numbers, going into this year. So I'm very, very excited about Hunter Renfro. I don't have a lot of shares of him. I did just draft him recently in a startup, so I'm excited to at least I think I have 2 shares out of like my 10 leagues. So I wish I had more. We'll see, man. I'm going to try to acquire him based off of your recommendation. Treylon Burks, yes, you're like everything that you said. I've also been seeing, Twitter people kind of making those criticisms about him, but I think he's a very good prospect. I'm excited to draft him when the opportunity comes. So I love both of those calls. Now, on the flip side of things, obviously we're talking about players we're excited about, we want to buy, but there's also some players, not every player is somebody we're going to be excited about. So tell me, Britt, who are you worried about in 2022?
Well, the first one I'm worried about is Mike Goseki. For one, he's a free agent. We don't really know where he's going to go. He's more of a receiver than a tight end, and he's under new coaching as well. Is Mike McDaniel going to keep a tight end who doesn't block? Between run blocks and pass blocks, Mike Goseki only blocked on 29.6% of his snaps. Compare that to George Kittle, who blocked 51.4%. And Kittle still got the ball, but I don't think that McDaniel is going to actually keep somebody and pay somebody who's not going to contribute in all forms of that offense. They've got Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe has shown that he can catch balls and block, so they've already got that option there. And if they let Goseki walk, then I think they can bring in another pass catcher who can contribute more. A second player that I'm worried about, and this is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but it's Cam Akers. And that's not to cut down anything that he's done coming back from his Achilles injury. It's superhuman to even be back on the field. But since coming back from injury, he's only averaged 2.4 yards per carry. It's not great. Sean McVay has also seemed committed to a running back by committee. And there's also some questions on the offensive line. Andrew Whitworth may retire. He might not come back. And then Austin Corbett is a free agent. So who knows if he comes back? So if that line shuffles around and they have to kind of figure out pieces there, then that makes me even more concerned about Akers.
Okay. So you dropped a lot of bombs there. But let me start off with Mike Goseki, right? So everyone knows I'm a Dolphins fan. So Mike Goseki, I love Mike Goseki. But the things that you brought up are very valid. So the Dolphins have the option to, bring him back. They can either pay him, they can tag him. But like you said, the problem with Mike Goseki, and I heard, some rumblings that if they're going to tag him, he wants to be tagged as a wide receiver because, like you said, he plays more like a wide receiver than a tight end. Because unfortunately, he's not the greatest blocker in the world. And coming from the 49ers system, your tight ends have to block. So you mentioned Durham Smythe. They also have Hunter Long, which they drafted last year, who's a pretty decent blocker, but he also can catch passes. So I believe they might have even drafted him just in case they had to let Goseki walk. So it's going to be very interesting what happens with him, right? And then if he leaves, everybody wants, Chargers are like the destination where everyone wants their free agent tight ends to go. But let's say we don't utilize Hunter Long or Durham Smythe. There's Dalton Schultz who might be on the market. We'll see if the Cowboys bring him back. David Njoku, obviously it'd be nice to have an athletic tight end who can also block, but we'll see what happens with that situation. I love that call, but at the same time, as a Dolphins fan, I don't like that call.
It sucks.
Yeah. In terms of Cam Akers, you're right. He did something superhuman. He came back from that serious injury. He hasn't looked great, but I believe that next season, he can only go up from where he, from coming off that injury, but we'll see how he's utilized. I don't know who they're going to bring back. I don't know. They treated him like the RB1. So I believe volume is going to be on his side, but I believe what your takes about that, I think, are very valid. So I really like both of those calls. Now, lastly, you have a recent article that came out for Fantasy Alarm about free agents. So I'm curious about your top free agents this season and what you like about them, what you don't, or what you do like about them. So I want to discuss that a little bit.
So there's not really any quarterback free agents that I'm just dying to have. So we'll kind of skip over that. But Cordaro, Patterson, and Leonard Fournette, if Leonard Fournette doesn't get signed back to Tampa Bay, I think he could make a splash anywhere he goes. I think he'll fit in with any system. Patterson worries me a little bit just because of his age. But as we saw last season, he was utilized as a wide receiver several times. So if he goes to a pass needy team, then he could be valuable there. And then I just put out a wide receiver article yesterday. Obviously, Devonte Adams is a top receiver in the league, let alone a top free agent wide receiver. But with all the drama in Green Bay, who knows if he's going to go, stay, whatever. But Chris Godwin is another intriguing one because I don't know if they're going to get a long-term deal done. I highly doubt that they're going to franchise tag him again, and he could go anywhere and be a wide receiver one.
I like all those calls. Leonard Fournette was my dude who was so undervalued last year. I was scooping him a bunch of places. So I hope the Bucs, obviously without Tom Brady with the Bucs, obviously it might hurt him, but Lenny showed that he can be productive. Because I think a lot of people thought he was washed, a few years ago, but I'm glad that people are realizing how good of a running back he is. Chris Godwin call, love that too. But you know what? I just hope that all we care about as fantasy owners is that they land in a spot that produces fantasy points. So we have no idea. It's still early in the game. There's going to be a lot of rumblings. And that's what the offseason's for, right? For speculation, predictions of who needs these people's services and where do we believe they're going to go. So I love all those calls, Britt. So unfortunately, I feel like I could talk to you about this all day, but we are running up against time. So I'm going to let you remind the people where they can find you, projects you have going on, and all that good stuff.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. This has been a ton of fun. Feelings mutual. I feel like we could talk all day. But you can find me on Twitter at Britt_Flynn, Flinn. Also on Lightning Round Fantasy at LR Fantasy every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central. We have our show talking about free agency, offseason moves, leading up into the drafts and that kind of thing. And I'm also doing a series on Fantasy Alarm about top free agents, and the tight end piece should be dropping soon.
Perfect. And you guys, you can find me at T King Mode and on social media platforms pretty much, except for Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook, but make sure you like and subscribe my YouTube page. I'll be coming out with more of these Friday mornings. It seems to be what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be switching it up, doing some random shows throughout the week. But I appreciate everybody tuning in and supporting. Thank you. And Britt, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I really love chopping up with you. Guys, make sure to follow Britt. She's dope. And make sure you follow our content. Thank you all so much again. Have a great weekend and peace out, everybody. Deuces.